So I just finished watching The City on the Edge of Tomorrow. Wow. Where to begin with this? I guess the last episode I said was probably the worst I've seen. It was so bad. This is such a breath of fresh air because it's the exact opposite. This is considered by so many to be the best episode of Star Trek, or one of the best. And I can see why. I was absolutely floored by this episode. This had everything in it that made everything I've seen so far great. The basic story is there's an accident and McCoy gets stabbed with a needle and he's injected with something, and he begins getting a little paranoid and he thinks that everybody's trying to kill him, and so he escapes down to this planet, and the rest of the crew goes down there to find him. And while they're there, they encounter this kind of rock circle thing with a big opening in it, and it comes alive in some way and begins speaking to them, and it's the Guardian of Time, and McCoy jumps through it, and then all of a sudden the Enterprise is gone, and all of human history as they know it has been erased. McCoy went back in time and changed something. Just that opening right there really got me hooked. I was like, okay, this is good. We're going somewhere. There are high stakes going on. We have characters that we really do care about and we're invested in who are in danger. In this case, McCoy, who, as I've said before, is probably my favorite character. So Spock and Kirk obviously go through the portal back in time to try and figure out what's going on. The catch is they don't know exactly where McCoy went. They don't know what time, what area, or anything like that. Spock is able to kind of narrow it down to a general timeline, and so they get there, but they arrive before he does. So they're trying to figure out a bunch of stuff. Really great setup. Where this begins getting interesting is it's another time travel one, obviously, but done so much better because it's just the two of them, plus McCoy coming later, and it's 1930s America, so it's Depression era. Really great. They got some good sets for it, good costuming, and they wind up meeting this woman named Edith, who is a real charmer, and Kirk falls in love with her. And through just some really great character development between Kirk, Spock, and Edith, the story develops. She runs a mission, and she's helping to feed people. And she also has this vision that in the future mankind will stop spending weapons or spending money on weapons and start spending it on making the human race better, which was Gene Roddenberry's vision. And kind of the setup for the Star Trek series is that yes, we did stop fighting amongst ourselves, and instead of pouring all of our money into building weapons and defense, we poured it into treating hunger and disease and ending poverty, and that storyline. So really great character, and the actress who played her was so good. Really just a lovely, charming actress to watch. Her interactions with William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy were great. There was also a lot of comedy. Spock obviously being half Vulcan and therefore alien looking. They had to disguise him a little bit, and they had some fun with that. Again, I've talked about the comedy elements of Star Trek. When it's really good, it works well. And this is when it's working best. They have a little joke that he's Chinese and his head got stuck in an automatic rice picker. And, they kind of laugh it up, and there's some fun things with that. So, it's getting all those elements going. And I'm really enjoying the show. And then wham, it hits us. The big clincher for the story. They find out that Spock has built this device so he can read into the future events a little bit. And he comes across two different newspaper articles. One talking about Edith meeting FDR and all this awesome stuff that she's done, and she's a leader of this peace movement. And the other is an obituary for her. And the obituary is 6 years before the article with her and FDR. And they do some more investigating, and they find out that Edith leads this political party, or this social revolution, and the United States of America stays out of the Second World War, and the Nazis are able to develop the atomic weapons and the missiles, and they take over. Wow. That is really, really heavy. We didn't need to see what happened in the future because we have such a vast knowledge about what Nazi Germany was during that time period. And this idea that, the United States staying out of the war led to them taking over everything because of this woman's dream for peace. That's really heavy. That's something that we can talk about for hours on end. Like, that's something I want to get a group of guys together with, go out to a pub, order several rounds, and discuss this topic. So Kirk and Spock realize that in order to save their future, this woman that Kirk has now come to love has to die. That's heavy. I know I already said that, but that really is. And that's why I loved this episode. There are real stakes involved. There's no Deus Ex Machina that's going to come in and whisk them away. There's no god creatures that are taking over or anything like that. So there's some major stuff going on. And that's really, really big. So like I said, we've got some heavy stakes. McCoy finally shows up, and he winds up meeting Edith as well. And so basically, it comes down to this aspect that McCoy was the one who saved her, and therefore she went on to lead the party and everything from there. And so Kirk has to let her die at some point. And there is one point where she almost dies, and he saves her. And you have this great bit between Kirk and Spock, and it's really powerful there. So it continues building, and it does get to the point where McCoy finally meets up with Kirk and Spock, and they're doing it, and a car is coming, and Kirk sees it, and he sees McCoy's reaction, and McCoy is going to go and save Edith, and Kirk stops him, and she gets hit by the car, and she dies. That was just devastating to watch. They didn't try to go back in time and change anything again. Like I said, there was no godlike being coming in and rescuing them at the end and making everything okay. It has a really depressing ending. It's sad. It shows the human side of Captain Kirk in a way that we've never seen before. In some of the other episodes, we've seen him as the great military leader, or kind of the badass, or the warrior. He's always the charmer. This was a completely different light. This was the most human we've seen him. This is a character that we can respect, that we can understand. This is a character that we know and we love, and we see him have to struggle with this decision. And I think that's just ballsy writing. That's some of the best writing I've seen so far. Wow, so what else to say about this episode other than I was floored. If you have never seen Star Trek, please watch this episode. I don't care if you never seen another Star Trek episode, really. This, beyond just being a good Star Trek episode, this is some of the best television I've ever seen. This episode here rivals some of the great episodes in TV history. I would seriously put it in my top list of stuff I've seen so far. So I've gone on for 10 minutes about this. This is spectacular, guys. Please go watch this episode. Please comment on it and help spread the word about Trek Gear. And I will see you all later.